Brian, you had mentioned early in the show that the lows that we have made are very relevant to the bottom of the 2020 bear market decline. Could you expound upon that?
Yeah. So I've been measuring since that low was, really kind of obvious. That is, with the March 24th low of 2020. No one knew it was the low at that point, but about 2 to 3 weeks later, it became obvious that it was an important low. So from that point, I anchored a volume weighted average price to see how the market responded to the average price from that kind of washout low. And, we've been well above it for, since then. Just last Thursday, though, we came down finally, touched that anchored volume weighted average price. I mean, almost to the penny.
Wow.
You just can't make this stuff up. The way it touched on there, and it, so far has bounced. Whether that bounce holds, I'm kind of skeptical.
Mhm.
We're still in a primary downtrend. We're below the declining 20, 50, 100, 150, 200-day moving averages. And, we don't have an easy, we don't have a Fed behind us to, prop it up and provide the easy money for a quick recovery. So I don't think we're going to see another V bottom. A lot of people are thinking that we're going to see that. I just don't see the case for it. And price action, hasn't shown any indication that it's ready to bottom either. I mean, a little bounce. I mean, we've seen bounces of 8%, 11%, 9% so far this year. But when you add them all up, they're less than the sum of the declines. So the downtrend continues. Do you want me to share the screen to show this?
Oh, that would be great,
that would be
because
great.
first I'm showing here's the bottom back in 2020, but this is not based on volume weighted average price. So let me stop the share.
So this is that orange line, and what I'm going to do is just back this up so we can see it. It's actually probably better if I go on a weekly time frame, so we can see it a little bit more clearly there. That's the anchored volume weighted average price from that level. And we came down almost precisely to it, like I said, and that's where so far we're seeing some strength. I don't look at that as the bottom. I look at it as, we've come down, especially, this last leg lower, we've come down really hard, and it's due for a bounce, maybe you could say. It's also, you can see I have in here what is the, from this low to this high here, that's a 38.2% retracement. So those kind of come in together at the same area, and then I think you get a little bit of that self-fulfilling prophecy that there's enough people, enough shorts saying, hey, we're at the 38.2% retracement, we're going to stop shorting, maybe cover a little bit of our more aggressive shorts. And then sideline cash comes in for that 38.2% retracement. And then you have kind of the same psychology based around that volume weighted average price. So we start to at least stabilize here. And on the 30-minute time frame, it's really not very convincing at all. When we look at, so I like to look at the volume weighted average price from here, which I thought was anchored to that. So I just switched to a 15-minute time frame.
Okay.
And there's the volume weighted average price from last Thursday, and we're still stuck below that. So in order for it, I think, to become more neutral, we need to get at least above 399-ish. I think it's still guilty till proven innocent. I don't trust it at all. I think that the majority of stocks that are still above the volume weighted average price from the COVID low, but are below the 20, 30, and 40-week moving average are destined to come meet that volume weighted average price. And those are some of the names that I was going to share short. The problem with shorts, and is that they're just so much trickier. And I love the quote of Linda Bradford Raschke, is that stocks will do the most obvious thing, but in the least obvious way. And I think that's extra true on the short side.
I really agree with that as well. And can you explain, for instance, the purple line? Is that
okay? So yeah, that is the volume weighted average price from the pre-COVID high.
okay?
So good question. So let me explain what I have on here because it can look like a little mess if you don't. It looks like I have too much stuff on there, but I actually have this blue one right up here. That's the 20-week. The green is the 30-week, and the black is the 40-week moving average. This pink one is the year-to-date volume weighted average price. The blue one is the volume weighted average price from January of 2021. And that's been an important level and continues to be in a lot of stocks. I usually don't leave it on here this late in the year. Usually it's not as important, but a number of stocks I still see it's kind of moving around there for whatever reason. I honestly don't know. And then I've got the volume weighted average price from the COVID low. And I'm thinking if we undercut that, the next level of interest is the volume weighted average price off of that high prior to the COVID sell-off.
That is very helpful. That's why I see now the purple line kind of starts going down together with the coronavirus decline, and then catches up with the others. That's great. So just as you mentioned, that orange line really served at least for. This is a daily chart
or
a
weekly chart?
This is a weekly chart. Okay, yeah. So it's been 1 week since that test. Very interesting.
There's the daily. So again, you can see the volume weighted average price off that low today. This morning so far. I mean, we're 15 minutes into the day. That's been the high of the day.
Really, really interesting there. Chris and Ed, do you have any follow-up questions to the VWAP analysis here?
I just know that I got, after you were on last time, we got a subscription to TC2000 just so we could take a look at it. And we're looking at it more for, swing trades and things like that. But it's really interesting how it comes into play at key moments.
I totally agree.
It blows my mind every day, Chris. I mean, I've been looking at this thing for a long time, and the accuracy. I mean, I look at it down here, and I've been watching this volume weighted average price, and I sometimes wonder, why didn't I just go in there and just buy some calls? I mean, I know that it often bounces there, but it just feels so dirty to buy into that weakness, just blindly thinking that the buyers are going to show up. So I didn't buy there.
You have a couple boxes on there, Brian, after like a gap up, I guess on the day, the 13th of May. Maybe those are just your own personal notes.
Yeah, so those are notes that I go through these video, with a video each day for subscribers to AlphaTrends. And those are just kind of my notes. And what I had sketched out here is, these are important, so when you want to put a volume weighted average price often on a significant event such as that gap. So you can see I just clicked there, and now that lines up with the 5-day moving average. And what I'd sketched in here is, here's what I think is most likely for the market is that we rally up towards the volume weighted average price from the prior low. And then we start to roll over, and we either see the big flush, or if we get above this box right here, then we've saved a stronger, flush for later, and perhaps we bounce up towards that 20-day moving average and this volume weighted average price off this peak, which is right now, here. So this would become, if we can recover, this was where I would think we might be able to bounce to, and then kind of reassess in that area. But so far, it's looking like, and again, we're too early in the day, but I think we see, failure, just because you got to give the benefit of the doubt to the primary trend. And all too often, people are just looking for the bottom, and it's really a fool's errand. We'll know well after the fact. I'll identify the low months after it happens. Then I can point it and say, that looks like that was the low. But more important, how are the individual stocks set up in between? And, can we find the opportunities for the swing trades and the shorter term timeframes to plod along and make some money while this market, corrects this mess?
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Investors Business Daily on YouTube. If you want to watch more videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.